versus the book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. It's your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. And I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on sports.
Welcome in. It is a Tuesday right here on Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh with you live on SportsGrid. Plenty to get to tonight. The conference finals begin in the NBA out east. Boston and Indiana. We'll get to that in a moment. Again, it is as well Dinger Tuesday. The Major League Baseball board will be starting shortly in Cleveland with the Guardians hosting the New York Mets. A bunch of first pitches coming in this 6 p.m. hour, so we will go through those games. Tom Vecchio will be stopping by. We'll get some Dinger Tuesday picks from Tom Vecchio as well. No NHL action tonight, but we do once again have some WNBA. We'll start there for a quick pick for the people. Let's go LA Sparks rookie Cameron Brink over 9.5 points. This is the easiest defensive assignment so far for Cameron Brink. And that is just as important as what she will be able to do scoring-wise in this game, because Brink has struggled quite a bit with foul trouble through 2 games. Against Atlanta, you have one of the greats of this league in Tina Charles. And we saw Cameron Brink put 5 fouls on the table. She still scored 11 in that game. The follow-up game was against the best player in the world. That's Aja Wilson. Aja, both sides of the ball. So not only was she able to put Brink in some foul trouble, she held Cam to 1 of 7 shooting from the floor. So you have a big bounce back spot from the efficiency angle and potentially a career high in minutes for Cameron Brink. I like her over 9.5 points. You want a WNBA sizzle? Cameron Brink for 15. Aja Wilson for 30-plus tonight, paying better than 20-1. Don't be scared to get in the mix here. The WNBA card is 3 games long. Aja Wilson, of course, as I just mentioned, out there. They play Phoenix once again, a 7:30 start in Atlanta as they will be hosting Dallas tonight at 7:30. So plenty of WNBA action for the people. Let's talk hoop. Let's talk NBA. Let's talk Celtics Pacers. Now, the series number for every Boston series has been eye-popping. This one no different. Minus 1,100 for the Celtics to win the Eastern Conference. And that is then tied into the Eastern Conference Finals MVP market, of course, where Tatum has been being bet up a little bit. but you can find Tatum at minus 250 at some shops. It's an interesting note, though. Again, we've made the comparison to the Western Conference Finals price. Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic. Hardly any difference between their team's money line in the Western Conference Final. Huge gap here for Jason Tatum. That's because in the opening series, that award would have gone to Derek White. Round 2, probably Tatum, maybe Jaylen Brown, but it was still somewhat debatable. The idea for this award, this race, is Jason Tatum's the best player in this series and on the Celtics. But he doesn't need to be in order for them to win the series. He will be, though. If Boston is going to win this series, and I do think they will, Tatum is going to win his second Eastern Conference Finals MVP. But I didn't want to get there at a minus 250 number. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to take a chance that we can have something on tonight's game shift the odds. I slightly think the Pacers are live tonight. A lot of momentum rolling downhill after putting up a $130 in the Garden. It is tough to come off of a Game 7. It's why I'm not taking the points here tonight. I'm backing off of a side. We have player props. But if the Pacers do steal this first game, again, I think Boston will be just fine. I really do believe that. And that's going to get us some value on Tatum. Or maybe we get a huge Jaylen Brown game, who's plus 470. And all of a sudden, Tatum comes down to a minus 120, minus 130 number. That's good with me. So I'm looking for Tatum in this market. I'm looking for Tatum live. I can't get there yet at a minus 250 number. But for Tatum and for myself, as someone who would love to get a better number, that could be difficult to do. Tatum dominated in this series. 30 points consistently, double-digit boards consistently, and chipping in the assist category as well. It's why I'm playing Jason Tatum tonight multiple ways. Now, I know JT and I, betting board, we don't see eye to eye. But the numbers are there, and if he's going to burn me, so be it. We'll start it off with a Jason Tatum triple-double. Now, you'll notice on the card here, and I'm playing Tyrese Halliburton as well, plus 1487, it looks a little weird. For the Halliburton, it reads triple-double. For Tatum, it's 10-plus rebounds and 10-plus assists. That's because I'm going to make sure we get the best of this number. And if you parlay 10-plus rebounds and 10-plus assists, we're getting a better price than the triple-double price. Well, how else is Tatum getting this triple-double? You think he's getting it with blocks or steals? It's not happening. So that's exactly what that is. And Tatum had a triple-double against the Miami Heat in round 1. And in the closeout game against Cleveland, 1 assist shy. So for me, I'm seeing Tatum step up across the board, playing by far the worst defense he's seen so far and the fastest team he's seen so far. The points, sweat-free, right? And we're not even betting the points regardless, but okay. The rebounds should get there somewhat easily. 10 rebounds in all but 1 game against Indiana regular season. 10 rebounds in 8 of 10 postseason games so far. So I do feel, and this isn't exact, but I feel like I'm getting nearly 15-1 on Tatum to give us 10 assists. And I think he will do that once in this series. I'm going to play Halliburton as well. I'm going to play these guys every game until I get a winner. And then I'll see if I want to keep playing it. Why am I playing Halliburton at 40-1? First of all, what a number. Not consistent book to book. Some books offering this at around 24. So I like what I'm seeing here. But I also like that I have Tyrese Halliburton, who had 1 triple-double in the regular season. Who to come against? You guessed it, the Boston Celtics. Tyrese Halliburton with a triple-double in round 1 against Milwaukee. Now, I would hear an argument that I shouldn't bother betting these in Boston. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen at home. I think that's fair. I do. But I don't want to miss the boat. I don't. I want to play my 40s right now while I still have them here on Tyrese Halliburton, who against this Celtics team, great in the assist category, better than usual in the rebounds category. Now, you got to be smart with how you break down what we got out of Tyrese Halliburton this year against the Boston Celtics. Because Halliburton really only played 2 full games. He missed 1. That was the game the Celtics beat Indiana by 50. There was another he was injured almost immediately in the game. and a second game where he was on a strict minutes limit and sat for the final 18 minutes. But Tyrese Halliburton, in the assist category, was his usual excellent self. Tweeted out today at the Kevin Walsh, I found a gem in this series. It's on Halliburton. Over 8.2 assists per game in this series. Let's not forget who Tyrese Halliburton is. The league's leading assister at 10.9 per game. There were only 3 opponents that held Tyrese under 8.2 assists per game. And the Spurs, Kings, and Pelicans, and 2 of those he averaged 8 a game against. And those were due to minute restrictions. So when we take a look at the 2 full games that Halliburton played against Boston, we had 20 assists. That's clean. That's 10 a night. But let's take in the full meal. And let's take his 110 minutes against Boston this year and his 36 assists in those 110 minutes. If I get Tyrese Halliburton for 38 minutes, that's 12.4 assists. You might say, come on, that's crazy. Is 34 minutes crazy? Because that would be 11.1 assists. Let's go low end. Halliburton, per 30 minutes against Boston this year, averaged 9.8 assists per game. Tyrese Halliburton bounce backs in the assist category. It's my best bet here in Celtics Pacers. We'll put picks on the board as well as some series-long leaders. Next, it's Game Time Decisions.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you here on a Tuesday night. Again, plenty to get to. We're going to line up some Dinger Tuesday stuff for the people. We're going to do some series-long situations coming up here with Boston and Indiana. We'll hit a little Western Conference Finals in hour number 2. But let's shoot things over. Davis Maddox, same-game parlay style here tonight on the hardwood.
Back to Major League Baseball for our same game parlay over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Today, we're taking a look at the last game of the night. The Diamondbacks traveling to play against the Dodgers. Gavin Stone pitching for the Dodgers. Brandon Pfaadt for the Diamondbacks. We are going to take the Dodgers run line. Really just don't want to go against that mean blue machine right now. And then we are going to tack on Shohei Ohtani to hit a home run in this game. A 94-mile-an-hour exit velocity. A 61.3% hard hit rate. 33% line drive rate. I really have never seen numbers like this. What Shohei Ohtani is doing, he's the best hitter in baseball. Not even sure it's that particularly close right now. So Dodgers run line -1.5, and Shohei Ohtani to hit a home run is going to be our same game parlay tonight at plus 461 odds. Good luck tonight, everybody.
Little diamond action there from Davis Maddock. And again, I've got some picks coming up in Major League Baseball as well. It is Dinger Tuesday. You see the bracket. We've just got 4 teams remaining. Boston, a big favorite to win the title because of their expectedness to get to that NBA championship, and the fact that they're not playing the Denver Nuggets has continued to boost up their number. Let's look at some series-long leaders here for Boston and Indiana. We begin with points, and Jason Tatum, a -370 number. Jaylen Brown checks in 5-1. Pascal 12, 27 on Tyrese Halliburton. The Halliburton number's interesting because we saw him give you multiple 30-point games against the Knicks. If he hits the ground running, you'd get a lot of value on that 27-1 price for Tyrese Halliburton. But ultimately, my thoughts in this market kind of echo what I said about Jason Tatum to win Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The dream scenario tonight for this market might be 32 out of Jaylen Brown, 24 out of Jason Tatum, and then roll back to JT. I know he's not had a lights-out postseason so far. He certainly picked it up to close out the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he could pick up right where he left off and give you 35 tonight. And this will feel pretty much over if he does. But if Jason Tatum gives you a slow game one, which we've seen from JT, you could get live value in this market. There's a Pascal Halliburton head-to-head market for who will have more total points in this series. It's a little plus price on Tyrese, tempted by it, but ultimately going to leave that off the floor. We'll move this over, I believe, to get to that rebounds market right now. And this is where you start to see why Jason Tatum is priced the way that he is. Because he's also a considerable favorite to lead this series in rebounding. -340, you get the plus 650 Pascal, 10-1 Al. Miles Turner being Miles Turner size and not even being in the mix. But I do think he grabs boards tonight. Here's a pick for you. Miles Turner and Jason Tatum to combine over 16.5 rebounds. Miles Turner in 13 playoff games has had 5 or more in 12 of the 13. So that's your floor for Miles Turner. And I think he could have a good rebound series overall. I think you're going to start to see that. He had a double-double in the regular season against Boston. And as I mentioned with Jason Tatum, 10-plus rebounds in 8 of 10 games. So I almost feel as if my floor with Tatum and Miles is 15. So I'm willing to get over that number here. This is another one where Jason Tatum has an advantage due to his consistency. And here's the tricky thing. As tempting as it would probably be to bet some Al Horford, Kristaps is out for games 1 and 2. If he gets back for game 3, that's really going to break things down right away. So Tatum, again, a strong favorite, and understandably. Nothing different here in the assists market. It's Halliburton. And there's no world I'm going to look to challenge this. Tyrese Halliburton to average over 8.2 assists per game is my favorite bet in this series. Now, I much prefer that to -650. This does feel like a winning wager. I mean, it is going to be a winning wager. Realistically, how does this fall apart? Injury, which is fair. Halliburton has the bad back. Carlisle's talked about it. We know it is somewhat true. And then you ask yourself, would you rather Tatum? Would you rather McConnell? The reason you'd rather Tatum of the two, I couldn't promise you TJ starts if Tyrese were to be injured. And tonight, right, Tatum should be able to create separation on McConnell by starting. So this is one of these, hey, I'm going to bet Jason Tatum because I think Tyrese could get injured, and I want a long shot bet. I can't get there, though. You're kind of just betting on an injury, and there's probably better ways then to do that realistically than that plus 750 number. The close market in this series is your threes leader. Now, Tyrese Halliburton put together a great series from beyond the arc against the Knicks, so he checks in at a plus 110 favorite. I mentioned fading Derek White in that series against the Cavs and play Jason Tatum at 4-1. So you would think now at plus 550, I'd come back to JT. I'm good. And maybe that's a good sign for people out there to go actually then bet Tatum. And he really should have one, if not multiple games in this series with 5+ threes against this defense. But the paint will be so available to him, he very likely won't need it. I think with this series starting in Boston, and I didn't find enough value here. Due to the closeness of this market, though, the threes is probably your best one to look for live chances. I'd rather start on Derek White due to the fact that this one is going to be played in Boston, see if he can get hot early, and then roll it through from there. That's where your series leader sits. By the way, just because we didn't hit it yet, Drew Holiday, 2+ steals, plus 170. Bounce back spot on the defensive end for Drew Holiday tonight. We'll get 2+ steals. We'll go Major League Baseball next right here on Game Time Decisions.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Happy Dinger Tuesday to the people here as it has been a fun start to Dinger Tuesday, and I know the people love it. Shout out Donnie Rightside, who is in the full mix today. He's tweeting those out at Rightside VP. I'll read them off to the people, and I do this because I've always said, and I'll keep saying, I believe Donnie is your best home run handicapper in the business. Tom Vecchio right in the mix, though, and he'll be here in just a couple of minutes. So DRS going Willie Calhoun for the Angels, Matt Chapman, Giants, Josh Naylor for the Guardians. I know that game did just begin. Gary Sanchez for the Brew Crew. Gunnar Henderson in Baltimore or in St. Louis for Baltimore. Cody Bellinger going for the Cubbies. And then he chipped in with some Carlos Santana and Jurickson Profar. All right, little plus 520 sizzle there for the people. I'll get to my Dinger Tuesdays in just a moment. But there are a few straight wagers that I played tonight, including an under in Reds Padres. I want to take a chance here on a 9.5 number with Joe Musgrove making his first start in quite a little bit. It was interesting. Musgrove went to the IL dealing with some potential tendonitis, and he did not make a minor league start. Now, that means the last time we saw Musgrove, he was obviously getting beat around a little bit. That 6.37 ERA sits there. But the straight last time we saw him was against this Reds lineup. 6 innings pitch, just 2 earned runs. Musgrove is still a pedigree pitcher. And I like Andrew Abbott. He's off to a nice start this season, pitching to just about a 3 ERA. And we're getting a 9.5. Cincinnati weather, I know sometimes that ball can fly at the Great American Ballpark. But I'm going to take a chance here on under 9.5 in Reds Padres. I am also using the up to, and I've talked about this. I think it's one of those fun promos that a lot of people seem to be involved with, where it's on DraftKings. If your team gets up 2 runs, you automatically win the bet. I probably got a little suckered into this and finding it more enjoyable because I did actually see the benefits of a Miami Marlins dog price hit in a game against the Tigers that they lost, but they found a 5-3 lead in. I find myself drawn to road teams in this market. You're obviously getting better options, shorter prices, of course, when you're betting a road team, favorite or not, but also up first, which can be that advantage. I'm not playing a dog, though. I'm playing a decent favorite, in fact, in the Baltimore Orioles, but I do like the Orioles to win this game. I was tempted to play their money line, which was earlier today around minus 155. It's since come up a touch, but Baltimore's got an advantage here against Lance Lynn. Kyle Bradish has been really, really good for the O's, so I'll go a little up to special here on Baltimore. And then that final straight wager, it's going to be one of my Dinger Tuesday guys, but over 1.5 bases, minus 140. It's my MLB play of the day. It's Juan Soto. Over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I think it's a great number here. I mean, Soto crushes lefties, crushes righties. He does it all. He has 9 of his home runs, though, against righties, and that's what Brian Wu is going for Seattle. While, look, the Wu numbers are misleading. Not misleading, but he's only had 1 start, right? So it's not like this guy's the greatest pitcher in the history of the world. Struggles to tick more against lefties dating back to last season. And Soto's one of the best hitters, of course, in the world. Soto's been great at Yankee Stadium. He had a 2-home run game the other day. I like Soto for Dinger Tuesday. I think this Yanks lineup off of an ugly blown loss yesterday will be looking to smash and bash, and that includes Juan Soto. But here's the deal. If we get that, Soto single, Judge's right behind him. Let's put that one over the fence. That's 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. So we're on that at minus 140. We're on his Dinger Tuesday price at plus 310. And then the other 2 situations for Dinger Tuesday, weather, wind, with the Baltimore Orioles game against the St. Louis Cardinals. And then, of course, you guessed it, Cubs-Braves, Wrigley, 11.5. Decent pitchers, too, right? Morton's got some pedigree to him, and Assad's off to a great year. I'm on Seiya Suzuki here to hit a home run at plus 400. I almost didn't bet this because in this exact pitching matchup in Atlanta, Seiya Suzuki homered off of Charlie Morton. And then I went to myself, that's dumb. Let's just see if he can do it again. Seiya Suzuki, good numbers against righties, has pop in this lineup for the Cubs. Season-long home run prop on Seiya Suzuki. Left some games on the table due to injury, but he's back in the mix here, and we can get on the right foot with a homer tonight. And then trying to pick a guy in this Baltimore-St. Louis game, I'm going Ryan O'Hearn. Wanted a lefty against Lance Lynn. An O'Hearn here batting third in this lineup, I'm good with. A lot of people are going to look towards Gunnar Henderson, understandably. Maybe this Colton Cowser, who's done well against left-handed pitching, but I'm going to go, or right-handed pitching, excuse me. I'm going to go Ryan O'Hearn here against Lance Lynn at a plus 360 price. We're going to get in the mix with Tom Vecchio next. Some Dinger Tuesday picks, some thoughts on the NHL playoffs and Pacers Celtics, all next here on SportsGrid.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. It's your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here, Game Time Decisions. Excited to talk to Tom Vecchio here on this Tuesday. It is a Dinger Tuesday. It's kind of funny. We've only talked to Tom on Tuesdays since I've been doing Game Time Decisions. And I'd love to tell you that this was a long game. That way we would have Tom scheduled and booked for Tuesdays. It just happened to work out that way. But Tom, excited to talk to you and talk some home runs here.
Yeah, regardless of what day it is, I'm happy to be here. We have some awesome home run spots tonight. There are not only some bad pitchers on tonight's slate, but like you said in the previous segment, weather is out of control.
Yeah, so let's get right to it here. Wrigley tonight, total's 11.5. If you took this game and put it in Tampa Bay, what's this total, an 8? I mean,
even in normal conditions in Wrigley, this game would probably be 7.5 or 8, but Wrigley's a field that is impacted by wind more than any other field. So just like, if we want to be like really simple about it, like 1 mile per wind, let's just say affects the ball 1%. At Wrigley, it's always going to be like 2%, whether it's in or out. So like cold weather, wind blowing in is like a big positive for pitchers. And when wind's blowing out, it's like that much more of a boost for hitters. So tonight, starting off, Cody Bellinger plus 390 for a homer. Loving this matchup he has with a 59% fly ball rate versus righties this year. Charlie Morton's like, he's a good pitcher. He's no one we need to be super worried about. He's allowing 1.05 home runs per 9 to lefties this year. And on the other side, Ozzie Albies plus 420. Assad's a fine pitcher, but he also has a 42% fly ball rate. He's only giving up 0.74 home runs per 9. I think he's running a little bit lucky right now. Also, Albies, since he came back, he's crushing the ball right now. He's just getting no results in terms of the box score. This recent series versus the Padres, over the weekend, multiple batted balls over 300 feet and 90 plus 100 plus miles per hour. He's just not getting hits. They're all flyouts. So he's doing a lot right. It's just not in the box score yet.
Yeah, listen, I love the looks, and this is what I'll say with, Dinger Tuesday. I find it a lot of fun, and the reason why someone like myself is always willing to get in the mix, I only bet. See, here's one of the big differences between Tom and I with the home run bets. He does it every single day that ends in a Y. I only do it on Tuesdays because I'm supposed to get my $25 back. When you have a game like this one here today at Wrigley Field, I view it as, and I know it could go left, I'm getting a free bet on anyone to hit a home run in this game. Because the odds are we're going to get 5 home runs in this game here tonight, Tom.
Right, that's what it's telling you. And ultimately, like, that's what we see in a lot of games. That happens a lot, like, when I write about hitters, especially with a team like with Atlanta or Texas or the Dodgers. It's like, if you pick a righty from the Dodgers, it's like, I like Will Smith tonight because his odds are great, but it wasn't Will Smith tonight. It was Mookie and it was Teoscar Hernandez, both hit home runs. It's like, directionally, I was right because the pitcher was terrible and a righty hit home run. I just wasn't right on the specific hitter. Tonight, it really doesn't matter for this Wrigley game. You can have anyone, and we're going to be seeing the ball fly.
I almost wanted to take Kelenic? No. Kenelic? Nope.
Jared
I can't say his Kelenic. Listen,
Kelenic?
I know. Listen, it doesn't matter. If he was still on the Mets, I'd be able to pronounce it. I'll tell you that. Obviously, the stopover in Seattle, but you just bang a 6-1 number, right? Just fly down the board. It's not a bad idea. Let's go NBA here, and you have a look-ahead line for the Mavs game, which is interesting. But start Pacers Celtics. What are you taking?
That's going to be Pascal Siakam tonight, under 7.5 rebounds. It was minus 125 yesterday when I spoke to Ben and Donnie on the early line. That's moved to about minus 140 now, minus 142, depending on where you can find it. He's averaging 7.5 in the playoffs, and he's not flying over this number on a nightly basis. We did see some good rebounding from Evan Mobley in the previous series. A couple games got up to 13 one games. So this is not a number Siakam's going to be rolling past every night. Him and Turner and McConnell and Obi Toppin, all these players are not going to be rolling past their rebounding props versus the Celtics. That's just not going to happen. One or two of them may, but it's just not Siakam. I think he needs to try and create more offense. So I'll leave the rebounding to Turner or someone else. So, I think the Celtics win this game. I'm not sure if they cover. I think the Pacers come with a little bit of momentum. I think the Celtics ultimately win the series at 4-2, which is sitting at plus 420.
Yeah, that is someone else mentioned that price to me. It's a decent ticket there. There's and I haven't gotten into this yet on the show tonight. There's a bet out there for the number of road wins in the postseason. Simply put, it's will there over 6.5 for the remainder of the playoffs, right?
Celtics series
have yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Celtics series have averaged, not even average, each Celtics series has had 3 road wins thus far. Boston is supposed to play, obviously, in both of the, rounds. So would you get a road win in Minnesota, Dallas? Now, you maybe don't think that there's going to be as many road wins here in Pacers, Celtics, but if it goes 6, you're getting at least 1 with Boston wins 4-2. And then what are you looking ahead to with Mavericks, Timberwolves here, Tom?
That's going to be P.J. Washington under 12.5 points, sitting at minus 120. Looking at some of the games in the Thunder series, he, scoring well over 20 points. I see that. He's also taking 18, 19, 23 field goal attempts in those games, which are very clear outliers compared to what he did in the other games. And even looking back at the series versus the Clippers, this is a player that takes 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 field goal attempts. Can he get hot from downtown? He can knock down some shots? Sure. But again, not every player on the Mavs, Washington, Luka, Kyrie, all these players are not going to be flying over their point totals versus Minnesota, who's awesome on defense, right? So if Washington happens to go over, that means someone else is being left behind, and then we have to try and identify that player and either live bet their player prop unders. So it's just the volume of field goal attempts up at 19 is not going to stay there for him. I will certainly side with the under.
To your point of let's use the series against Oklahoma City, who was being left behind, Luka and Kyrie is the answer. Right?
A lot of games. Luka's not shooting well from downtown.
No. He looked better as that series went on.
Fair.
And I think this is a stars series for Dallas. I think it's going to flip. I think you're right to look towards PJ Derek Jones, Lively, unders. But Luke and Kyrie, who averaged about 60 a game together in the regular season and averaged barely 40 in the series against Oklahoma City, I think you'll see the Stars bounce back in a big way.
I will say real quick, Derek Lively rebounding props, I think those are going to be very interesting as the series goes on. He played a solid role coming off the bench. I think they kind of need his size out there, right? They don't need him for scoring. They don't need PJ Washington for scoring. Like you said, it's going to be a star series. I'm totally on board. It's like Derek Lively rebounding props is probably something I have interest in. I didn't see any posted as of now.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if some of that is, and I don't think they will, but Lively was better than Gafford. Yes. And I wonder if they're just saying, what if they flip the lineup? And if they did that, it's going to obviously change the projections. Yes. Let's talk a little hockey before we let you get out of here, Tom. Both conference finals are set there, East and West, Oilers, Stars, Rangers, Panthers. Do you have a definitive pick that you feel good about in either of the series?
Well, I have a Stars Stanley Cup future at 11-1 from the beginning of the season. So they're my pick. They are significantly better than the Oilers. I'm going to say in all three aspects. I know that might be a bit of a hot take, but Stuart Skinner in net and changing goalies in net is never a path to success for any team in the playoffs. Jake Andre is awesome. Their defense is awesome. They have an extremely deep forward group. All four lines can score. When it comes to Rangers and Panthers, it's a little tough for me to talk about that as a Rangers fan. It's going to be a back and forth series. I don't see going less than 6 games. So maybe look for 6 or 7 games. You just want to play who's ever the underdog game by game, just because you're getting value. And we think it's a back and forth series. I think that's a fun way to approach it as well.
I will say this, and this kind of goes to something that you and I were talking about off air. I don't know as much about the Dallas Stars as I feel the other 3 teams. But what I do know about Edmonton is that they went on a historic run in the midst of this season. That they had a super slow start, made a drastic change, and it worked. And things like that really matter. And I feel as if this Edmonton team, who some were quietly leaving for dead against Vancouver and winning that series in the way that they did, was very, very impressive. But maybe I'm also addicted to Stars, which is certainly possible. Tom, great stuff. As always, Raheem Palmer up next.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live on a Tuesday night, I'm Kevin Walsh. We're now joined by Raheem Palmer of The Ringer. And, Raheem, it's very important that we have you before the conference finals begin because I was actually alluding yesterday to one of your main trends that you've consistently told people about, which is the power and the negative impact that playing a Game 7 can have. Before we get into anything else, can you kind of remind people that because it's relevant in both of these conference finals?
So you look at teams who come off a Game 7-game series. They're just 33-55, hitting 37% straight up in Game 1 of the following series since 1988. So, it has a huge disadvantage on teams who come off this 7-game series. And one of the reasons why I did this research was because I look at the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. And I always tell people, if they didn't have to go through that gauntlet of OKC and come back from down 3-1 before taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think that series goes completely different. So that's always been my theory, and it's been proven to be correct.
Wow, I didn't know the origin was a disastrous Kevin Durant collapse. And I know your Durant takes, and let me just say I love them because you are one of few people who speaks about Durant based on what we see instead of what people want it to be. Instead, Durant is ranked in front of LeBron every single year when we do those top 100 lists, despite literally never being better than LeBron. And then it was my favorite series I've ever watched, which was, of course, the Cavs coming back from 3-1, which is that makes me love the trend even more if possible. Let's start with the game tonight. Boston, Indiana. The Pacers come off, though. I mean, you want, Game 7 and outliers. 130 points in a Game 7 against the Tom Thibodeau defense is one of the wildest things I can remember. What are you looking for here in this first game?
I'm looking for a Celtics blowout. And you look at this Celtics team, they are just such a balanced team. You're talking about a team who is dominant offensively. Throughout the playoffs, they're second in offensive rating. But this is also a team that can rebound the ball. They're first in rebounding rate. And you look at this Indiana Pacers team, out of all the teams in the postseason, they're 16th in defensive rebound rate. So the Celtics are going to be able to dominate on the offensive glass in the same way that the Knicks did, but they actually have a top-tier offense. And then, in addition to that, they have all of the wings to be able to throw at a guy like Tyrese Halliburton or Nembhard, or they just have so many pieces defensively. You look at Jason Tatum, you look at Jaylen Brown, you look at Drew Holiday, Derek White. There's nowhere to hide anybody. So I think the Celtics are going to blow this team out and stay on script like they've done the last two series. And then I think you have to look towards Game 2 with the Celtics probably letting their foot off the gas.
I think it's fascinating because if we get a third straight Boston series of blowout Game 1 and lose Game 2, I think my head is going to explode. I just refuse things to be that predictable, right? And that's, I think, part of the reason I'm like, maybe Indiana steals this game. But the Game 7 trend is embedded in my mind. And, not just the Game 7 trend, but Boston hasn't played basketball in forever. So the only way the Pacers win this game is if they do what they did in that first quarter against the Knicks. They have to score 35-plus, grab an early 10-point lead, and hold on for dear life. That means Halliburton has to show up early, which he was picking and choosing when he wanted to do that against the Knicks. How do you feel about Tyrese heading into these conference finals, who's had an uneven, you could say, playoffs overall, but a successful one?
Yeah, he's been a little bit of a complex player for me this year, just because, the first half of the year, he was about as good as any guard in this league. You could have voted him, all NBA, and then he gets hurt, and it felt like he was never really the same. And you look at throughout this postseason, you'll see games to where he'll drop 6 points in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, then come back and drop 34 and 35, and then two games later, he has 13. So you just don't really know which Halliburton is going to show up. And I guess you just kind of have to, coming off the Game 7, I'm just going to assume that you're not going to get the high-level Halliburton.
Yeah, which is incredibly fair. But I think what gets frustrating with a guy like Tyrese is when you know it's in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, hey, let's not finish this game with 6 field goal attempts, right? That's always the thing with stars.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like the Ben, and you know it well, I know the Ben Simmons stuff, but so often people were just begging him to shoot the basketball. And Halliburton, the results of when he just lets it fire are so positive for this team. I mean, Raheem, I was looking through just, some simple stuff, but he finished that series against the Knicks with a 137 offensive rating. That is unimaginable to me. He arguably, and I don't say this as a Brunson slight, I know he was injured, but Halliburton arguably outplayed Brunson over the course of the 7 games. So when we kind of figure out how Halliburton can hold up against a team as Boston, as balanced as they are, a lot of that is going to fall on his own aggressiveness.
It's his own aggressiveness, but I truly believe that the Celtics have the pieces to throw at him. Like when you look at 4 games in which he's played against the Celtics this year, he's only averaging 15.8 points per game, 9 assists, 5.3 rebounds. So this is not necessarily the best matchup for him. And if you look at, his shooting percentages in those games, like he shot 31% in one of those games, 29% in the other game. So this could be like a shock to the system, having to face this Boston defense.
I think, I'll tell you this, Drew Holiday better play some good defense, because everybody likes to pick on Halliburton for that final Team USA roster spot, and it is Drew Holiday who doesn't belong on that roster and is only there because he's willing to only play defense, at least in my opinion. We're going to keep Raheem around because I do want to talk some Western Conference Finals, because, again, the Game 7 trends apply. And that series against Denver was a war. I know there were a lot of blowouts, but my gosh, was that Game 7 something to watch. And people obviously have fallen in love with this Wolves group, but silently waiting is Luka Doncic, one of the very best players in the world, and I want to see what Raheem thinks early on about that Western Conference series that'll begin tomorrow. That's next right here on SportsGrid.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back right here on Sports Grid, joined by Raheem Palmer. And Raheem, looking ahead a little bit to tomorrow's series that'll begin in the Western Conference with the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Really curious where you land on this series, because I know you were interested in Oklahoma City against Dallas, and I'm wondering if/how impressed you were by the Mavericks winning the series overall.
So that was an interesting series for me, just because obviously I took Oklahoma City to start the series, but as the series went on, game by game, I was betting the Mavericks. And I think the one thing about this Mavericks team that we've seen that we haven't seen from previous incarnations of the Luka Doncic era is that this team can play defense and they can rebound and they can muck up the game. So now I think they're facing a little disadvantage with all the bigs that Minnesota has. But when you have Luka Doncic, when you have Kyrie Irving, I think they're still the better team offensively to me. Like, if you look at Minnesota, they weren't a great offensive team. I think they went with defense first. And you look at the first series against the Phoenix Suns, like, to me, that wasn't a big test. And I think the one thing that, if we look back on the Denver Nuggets series, they didn't have enough. Like, it was really, like, look at Game 7. Jokic scored 34, Murray scored 35. What did they get from everybody else? The one thing we're seeing from Dallas is that they actually have pieces off the bench who can contribute. So Dallas is actually the deeper team than Denver. So I think this is going to be a long series. I personally played the over 5.5 games because there's no way I see this being a short series. I think with Luka Doncic out there, the one thing that he's proven is that he's very difficult to beat 4 times. You look at the teams who have beat Luka Doncic 4 times. You're talking about the Clippers, who were title favorites. They did it twice, and those went to 6 and 7 games. You're talking about the Golden State Warriors, who ended up winning the title. Now, a lot of people are going to put Minnesota on that level, but I still think they have to prove themselves. And I think Luka and Kyrie, they can challenge for the series. And I really want to take the Mavericks, but I just don't think the pricing is there for where I want it. But I am taking the Mavericks in Game 1.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sure, of course, the trend's going to back that up. I think so. I have a Mavericks preseason West future, right? So that's the only reason I haven't been betting them within these series and just kind of letting things run. There's one aspect of this that I also think is really big because Jokic has a slight edge over Luka, but if Luka's healthy, right, Luka can kind of match that production. And yes, these other guys for Dallas have been stepping up. The Mavericks just won a series with Kyrie averaging 15 a night. And that is mind-blowing to me. And I think one of the underrated things about this, or under-discussed, I should say, this Denver postseason, Raheem, is how bad Jamal Murray was. And it wasn't just the Minnesota defense, because Jamal was mostly bad against the Lakers, too. I know he hit the game winners. Trust me, they left me sick to my stomach. But just simply, last year, 47% from the field, 40% from 3, 26 a night. This year, 40 from the field, 32 from 3, and 21 a game. That Jamal Murray drop-off, Raheem, is a huge reason that we're not breaking down Mavericks Nuggets.
Oh, without a doubt. And if you look at the Nuggets' first quarters, they were absolutely getting destroyed. That starting lineup, which was been one of the best in the league all season long, they got outscored. I mean, throughout the course of the game, in the 12 postseason games they played, they got outscored by 6 points per 100 possessions. So a lot of that is on Jamal Murray, but some of that is on Michael Porter Jr. as well. So if you have a team who doesn't have a lot of bench depth, and now the starting lineup is getting crushed because you have 2 guys not playing well, you're in trouble. So Dallas is clearly the better team than Denver is right now.
And that's where Kyrie, I think, is going to be a much bigger challenge than a lot of people are giving it credit for. Again, Anthony Edwards, I get it. Everybody loves him. I'm not saying I don't. But his postgame being like, yeah, Kyrie, that's my matchup. I don't want the guy who has to give me 30 a night guarding Kyrie Irving, Raheem, for 40 minutes. That's going to take a lot out of him.
It's not only going to take a lot out of him, but, I mean, this is a guy who you really need him on the floor because Karl Anthony Towns, he's so inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from Cat. So you can get good Cat, you can get bad Cat. And, I mean, fortunately for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they got good Cat for enough games to, sneak them past that series. But that's not going to work if he's not consistent in this series. Dallas is going to win.
100%. Raheem, appreciate it as always. I know we will be checking in again as this postseason continues. Best of luck with the game tonight.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, awesome stuff there. We're going to talk to Joe Madden at the top of the hour and break down this baseball card right here on SportsGrid.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here. It's Game Time Decisions. It's a Tuesday night. Saw a tweet from the FanDuel account. Which team wins a 7-game series? All-time Celtics, all-time Pacers. Bob Cousy, Paul Pierce, Larry Bird, Jason Tatum, Bill Russell against Tyrese Halliburton, Reggie Miller, Paul George, Ron Artest, and Jermaine O'Neal. My answer would upset people. Let's talk some baseball here. Joe Madden, happy to have you on a Tuesday night. It is Dinger Tuesday, and I'm taking a Juan Soto home run in this Yankees game. Curious what you like as they'll host the Seattle Mariners off a tough loss yesterday.
Yeah, I'm looking for the Yankees to come out nice and strong with Clark Smith getting the start here for them. He's been so phenomenally strong at getting those strikeouts on the board, and I do trust him to go up and over his number today, Kevin. That number is high at 6.5 at -122 to the over, but you look at him here. He's got 55 strikeouts in just over 50 innings pitched, and I do think he's going to have another strong showing here versus the Seattle Mariners. Now, I'm also looking at the Yankees team total. I think you take it up and over that 4.5. That's coming in at +100. We know how explosive this team can be offensively. I think Juan Soto does get on the board like you're taking there because Brian Woo's coming out here for Seattle. Now, while he has strong numbers, you look at the limited innings he's pitched, and against this Yankees lineup, I just think he's going to give up those runs. And now Seattle, they've been so inconsistent up at the plate. I do think they show those struggles today, and the Yankees take this in a big way, Kevin.
All right, some love for the New York Yankees. Juan Soto over the 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs is my play of the day. Let's make sure we get this Blue Jays game in here, Joe, as we got a good pitching matchup with Kikuchi and Crochet. What do you like up north?
Crochet's been strong when you look at his numbers with a 4.18. But when you look at his road ERA, Kevin, it is sky high. It's over a 7. And Kikuchi, I just can't trust him. The last time he recorded a win was so long ago. It's been over a month. He's been having those struggles out there. And while the Toronto Blue Jays have dominated versus the Chicago White Sox in the last, 7, 8, 9 meetings, can I trust them here? I can't trust the Toronto Blue Jays, and I can't trust Kikuchi. I think we're going to get that Yurfie, and it might just come by the Chicago White Sox in this one. It can come by either, but at plus 118, I am going to play the Yurfie. I'm going to play this one over that total as well. And then I think you look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I do think he is due for a home run. His home run coming in at plus 450. He's been so phenomenally strong for the Blue Jays there. And like I said, Crochet coming out here on the road. He's had those struggles. Now, if you just want to take Vladdy for the RBI here, I don't hate that either. That's coming in at plus 160. He has 11 RBIs in his last 19 games. So he's been phenomenally strong. I do think Vladdy gets that home run and the RBI.
You know, it's funny, Joe, because when I saw the game, just for me, when I try and go through the baseball board, I look at the money lines, of course, but I try and not see the total until I kind of get a good feel for the pitching matchup. And I saw this total. I said, I might be able to play an under here. You know, maybe I can get an 8.5, probably an 8. It was a flat 7. I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? So I backed way off this total, getting some plus money for the Yurfie. I like what you're going with there. How about at Wrigley tonight? I can only imagine how expensive that Yurfie is. Total's 11.5. What do you like in Cubs Braves?
Well, I don't love the scheduling spot here for the Atlanta Braves. They're coming off the doubleheader versus the Padres yesterday, and I do think this is an opportunity for the Cubs to get a nice win at home. We're getting plus money with the Cubs as the home dog here, and Javier Assad getting the start. Now, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in each of his last 9 starts. So he's being strong, and I do think with the scheduling spot here for the Atlanta Braves, the Cubs have every opportunity of getting the win. And yes, this is a high total. I don't want to play an over 11.5, Kevin, but I can't take this one to the under. You look at the Braves, and they lost 4 of their last 5 games as well. This team needs to get back on track. Will it be here versus the Cubs? It could be, but I have a lot more faith in the Cubs. And you talked about looking at those totals after you looked at the pitching matchup. I tell you, I tried to look at the first 5, Kevin, and I was shocked that total was sitting at 6.5. I wanted to take the first 5 to the over, but a 6.5, I still can't play to the over. It's minus 144 to the over as well. So the runs are coming tonight. This would be a great one to take some player props in. I just can't get there. I would be looking at these pitchers to go under on their strikeouts, but I hate taking under on strikeout for pitchers.
Yeah, we're going to move over to this Baltimore game, Joe, because this Orioles team has one of the hottest hitters in the league and the 4th best odds to win league MVP in the American League. That's Gunnar Henderson. Now plus 500. In front of him are Soto, Judge, and Bobby Witt Jr. The only other player underneath 35-1 is Kyle Tucker at plus 700. You're going to back Gunnar Henderson in a few ways in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for him to come out nice and strong and get that home run. I can't believe how much the books have adjusted. We were getting him for the home run in that last game yesterday at plus 420. It's now plus 185 for Gunnar Henderson to come out and get that home run, but he's on absolute fire. And I'm not stepping in front of him right now, Kevin. I do think off of Lance Lynn here, he has every opportunity. Lance Lynn has been struggling. He's been giving up those earned runs 4 or more in his last couple of starts. And I do think with someone like Gunnar Henderson, he's in trouble tonight. So I'm also going to look at the Baltimore Orioles. I think their team total up into the over 4.5. It's juicy at minus 130, but I do think they can get those runs on the board. I think you could even alt this one to over 5.5. You're getting the over 5.5 with some plus money. I expect 6 runs out of the Baltimore Orioles. We know they basically had that game until late yesterday versus the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're going to be frustrated coming out in this one. Now, Kyle Bradish is getting the nod here for the Orioles, and I like his ability to limit the bats here of the Cardinals, but the Cardinals have been going up and over in their games as well. They've been actually getting the runs on the board, so I would take this full game to the over as well, but I do trust the Orioles here a lot more to go over their team total.
All right, looking for some juice there in Baltimore. I took the Rhino Hearn home run in that game for Dinger Tuesday. It could be a home run party for Baltimore. Now, Joe, yesterday, I think you actually told me this off air, but I know you were on air, so I'm sure you mentioned it at some point to people. The Dodgers parlay, including Will Smith, a little plus 700 situation. He paid the people last night, and you're going to go back to Will Smith tonight, I assume.
Yeah, I had that same game parlay on in-game live overtime last night, and it cashed. It was plus 721. It was Will Smith and the Nerfy in that Yamamoto over his strikeouts. I'm going to go back to Will Smith for that RBI today. His RBI coming in at plus 135. He's been phenomenally hot, and when we look at him versus Arizona, he's been getting those RBIs in all of these matchups. I'm also going to look here at the Dodgers in the first 5. I do think they have every ability in the first 5 innings to cover that run line. They're only laying a half a run there at minus 102. They've got Gavin Stone coming out to get the start, and I really do think he's been so phenomenally lights out as of late. He's really going to limit the bats here of the Diamondbacks, and I don't trust the Diamondbacks bullpen either, so I do think this is a game where you could take the Dodgers on that run line as well, but I'd probably alt their run line for the full game, Kevin. I think they easily cover the 1.5. I'd look to lay the 2.5. You're not getting as much value as I wanted, though, so that's why I looked at the first 5 innings, laying the half a run at minus 102.
All right, makes a lot of sense there. Look, this Dodgers team is hot, and they're tough to beat, and getting plus money on the run line is tough to pass up on. Joe, I'll ask you quickly before we let you go. What'd you make of that Oilers win last night?
Kevin, why did you have to do that? Like, that is absolute torture out there. I wanted Vancouver to get through. Seeing the Edmonton Oilers, you know, they were able to convert on their power play, and their kill was second to none. They killed a 4-minute penalty out there on the ice, so they did deserve to go through. I swear, everyone just wants to hear me give the Edmonton Oilers props. Hopefully in the next series, it's the Dallas Stars we're giving props the whole time.
Look, the Oilers got the job done. And even though I lost my McDavid bet, I could not be happier I didn't lay the puck line after they were up 3-0 and only won 3-2. Joe, appreciate it as always. We'll talk Western Conference Finals, NBA, next.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's make it happen here live on a Tuesday night. Mentioned we're going to talk some Western Conference Finals odds, just to kind of set the table for people here on this Tuesday. I have not placed any series-long wagers just yet. We're going to expand on those odds in a moment. There's some interesting Kyrie props. We'll get to those and any items that I do bet. Again, I'll make sure I tweet those out to you tomorrow at the Kevin Walsh. We'll get in the mix. Let's talk a little bit about the card tonight, though, just a chance to kind of really lay it all on the table with this Eastern Conference game. We'll expand on it a few times here. But as far as your straight bets tonight, Tatum and Turner over 16.5 rebounds combined. All right. This is a spot where Tatum is a double-double machine right now. You know, his rebound average is 9.9. It was a little tempting to play that to the over. He dominated the glass against the Pacers in the regular season, averaging 30 and 10 in this matchup. And in the postseason, he's dominating the glass for a second straight year. Tatum now has averaged 10-plus rebounds in 5 consecutive postseason series, dating back to last season. So I expect Tatum for 10 very consistently. And he hit 12 plenty of times. If you look at Miles Turner, he's played 13 playoff games and only once had less than 5 rebounds. So if my floor, let's call my floor, so what's my floor for Tatum? It's really 7, right? But I like Tatum to get to that 10. But I want to bring Miles Turner into the fold. Maybe it's risky. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe it's a 10-rebound night for Tatum, which is pretty expensive. Even if it's an 11-rebound night, maybe I get hooked here. But Turner's rebounds is something that I was interested in heading into this series. I was trying to find a way to play Miles. I considered his double-double price, something we saw him do earlier this year, actually, against the Boston Celtics. And I think you're going to see both of these guys have good rebounding series, so I wanted to get off on the right foot here and play this in game number 1. I also wanted to play Drew Holiday for 2+ steals here, plus 170 price. No steals last game, and the only times that we've seen that so far in the postseason, the bounce-back game, he's had 2 steals. And if you take a look at the team here, now, I know in the regular season he didn't have a multi-steal game, but I'm okay with that. I think that's partly why we're getting a nice plus 170 number here on Drew Holiday. You uptick tempo, and it just gives you more opportunities. The Pacers are accustomed to their tempo, so it doesn't mean they're going to be falling over themselves and giving the basketball just to Drew Holiday. But more possessions is more opportunity for turnover. So that's why I want to be in the mix here with Drew Holiday, a nice plus 170 price. The plus 170 does pale in comparison, though, to our triple-double shots. Halliburton, 40-1. Tatum at basically 15-1. Someone let me know that they went about this on another book, I believe Fanatics, because I did not play the straight triple-double number on JT. I wanted the best price I could get, so I parlayed 10 rebounds and 10 assists and came up with plus 1487. At another book, they were getting 20-1. So get your best number, right? I want to bet this every single game. Both of these guys, triple-double, 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 and see what I come away with. There is a price plus 850 any player to record a triple-double. The issue with that, though, is you're not getting anywhere near your return if you get the Halliburton triple-double, who had one against Boston in the regular season, had one in round number 1 against Milwaukee. But the Derek White triple-double was a game that Tatum missed. Jaylen Brown had a triple-double. Sorry, I'm not banking on that. And Pascal had one in the regular season, but Halliburton didn't play. So I think these are really the only 2 guys that can get the triple-double anyway. So I'm willing to play them isolated here tonight, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. The series-long wager that I've locked in, though, comes on Tyrese Halliburton to average over 8.2 assists per game in this series. And this is just one of those spots where we're getting a low number due to the last series. Halliburton averaged only 7 assists per game against the Knicks. He actually didn't have 10 assists in any of the 7 games. That's outlier. Give the Knicks plenty of credit, but that's outlier. We saw the series against Milwaukee, 9.3 assists per game. And that was, by the way, a series where he had a 2-game stretch of only 10 assists. But the 2 games prior to that, he had 28. Halliburton's going to be able to hit that top ceiling once, if not twice, in the series against Boston because it's who he is. It's who he's been all year long. He averaged 10.9 assists per game in the regular season. Go peel back to what we saw from Tyrese Halliburton against Boston. The numbers are messy. He played 4 games, 2 of them full straight through, averaged 10 assists between those 2 games. But then one game where he was on a strict minutes limit and only played 22, and another where he got injured pretty early on and only only played like 13 minutes. I was interested in a Halliburton points or rebounds plus assists bet tonight. I think you can bet that. I like that. I think that's a winner. I was actually looking for even a Halliburton rebounds average prop as well. But I'm willing to key on the assists because when you look at what Tyrese did in the 110 minutes he played against Boston this year, he gave you 36 assists. So again, you tell me how many minutes per game you think you're going to get out of Halliburton. In the series against the Knicks, he played 33.7 minutes. In the series against Milwaukee, it was 36.5. Buoyed, though, by an overtime game where he played 46. So if you want to call it 34 minutes, that'd be 11.1 assists per game if he plays 34 minutes based on what he did against Boston. But again, you want to call it 30 minutes, which is preposterous and not what it's going to be. It was still 9.8. Halliburton is the top assister in this league. And at 8.2, we're getting a massive, massive discount. Updates quickly here on your Major League Baseball board. 1 run on the board for the Cincinnati Reds after a sacrifice fly. Nerfy comes in, unfortunately, there for Toronto. And the White Sox, 2-1 Tampa, Twins up 4-0 off a Byron Buxton home run. Rangers strike first against Ranger Suarez and the Phils. Giants up 2-1 on Pittsburgh, 2-1 Brewers. William Contreras helping the people there, I know, with an RBI double. And the Guardians up still on the Mets, but now 2-3 as the Mets are threatening to add a little bit more here in the top of this 5th inning. Let's spin it forward, Western Conference style. Points leader, rebounds leader, assists leader, a.k.a. Luka. We'll talk about it here on a Tuesday night on SportsGrid.
The Bostonian versus the book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We begin the conference finals tonight in the East with the Celtics and the Pacers. Tomorrow, we'll go out west with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks beginning. Since I'm not here, just wanted to set the table. Why not? Points, rebounds, assists, threes leader. And it's a lot of Luka Doncic. He's the top choice in 3 of the 4 markets and the second choice in the one that he's not the favorite in. We'll begin with points, where Luka is very tempting to bet. We're coming off of a series where Luka Doncic averaged under 25 a night. Now, that I think is going to send some people to the window on Anthony Edwards, who's had a great postseason, is averaging 28 a game, which is right in line with what we've seen from Luka Doncic so far in these playoffs. The Minnesota defense is definitely going to be the best that Luka has seen thus far. But I'd like to argue that so far, what we've seen from this Mavs defense, the best defense Minnesota has seen will be Dallas's. I also just think when this series is going to be very difficult for Minnesota to contain Luka. Unless he is injured, he's going to be excellent. I think the series against Oklahoma City specifically has allowed some to forget the Doncic postseason resume and what those numbers look like. But if memory serves, and unless things have changed throughout these playoffs, the only player who averages more points per game in their playoff career is MJ. Luke averaging 30 in this series feels right on line. There's some different markets you could attack, though. Luka head-to-head with Ant Edwards. Luka's pure prop over the number. Again, the concern on Doncic and why you have to evaluate his minus 115 worth it is the health stuff. If Luka missed a game, then this would be nightmarish. The thing is, if Luka were to miss a game, unlikely, I don't think it's going to happen, my bet wouldn't be Ant, it would be Kyrie. Because I'm expecting Kyrie to bounce back in this series. Halliburton today, my best bet for that series between the Pacers and the Celtics. Again, it's tough. Here's one of the tough things about this series, for at least some of the stuff that I love to look at, which is, and I'm sure plenty of you who make these bets, right? What we saw in the regular season. Well, a lot of this regular season sample size is useless. And not just because it happened before the trades and Grant Williams was stinking up the court, but there was a bunch of games that Kyrie didn't play in or Luka didn't play in. I believe we only had one matchup where both Luka and Kai were available. Guess who won that? Dallas. But I am expecting Kyrie to bounce back scoring-wise. So a series average that at last look was under 21 a night, it has my attention. Let's look rebounds here. Rudy Gobert, big-time favorite. I attacked Rudy in round 1 against Phoenix. Could the Suns take him off the floor? Could Yusuf Nurkic have a big rebounding series? No and no. That's what we saw. Rudy then was in a tight race with Nikola Jokic. Jokic probably would have won regardless, but Gobert missed game 2. It removed any chance he had. I think Jokic had double-digit rebounds in that game. I think it might have been 16. You're not making up a 16-game deficit. That's what it is, 16-0 was your score in game 2. So Rudy has a big minus 600 number. The only way Gobert is not cashing that ticket, injury always applies, but could Dallas play Rudy off the floor? There is some idea that Maxi Kleber could come back in this series, which would introduce 5 out for Dallas, which has been the playoff kryptonite for Rudy Gobert. You pull him away from the rim, things get a little bit trickier. If Kleber comes back, then again, things for Gobert could be up in the air, but that's something we maybe play in game 3, 4, as opposed to before the series. Many will look Luka. Cat did have a good rebounding series, though, against the Denver Nuggets. Assists, you know it, it's Luka. And Mike Conley had a good assist series, right? But I see no value on that. Mike Conley was around 16-1 to lead the series in assists against Denver. Now he's 6-1. Luka's assists, Jokic's assists, not that much separation. Similar, though, here with what we saw in the West or in the East. In the West, that three-point market is very close. And Luke is the favorite, but Ann Edwards, Kyrie getting real love. So is P.J. Washington off the wild series that he had. So there will be juice to be had in that market. We'll talk to Dave Sharapan about all of this and more next on SportsGrid.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify in these majors. You got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early
The
line.
magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back to the right here. Live on SportsGrid Tuesday night. Consig in the mix. A's gear. I feel like it's been a month since you broke out the A's gear. What's the word here?
I can't wear Celtics stuff. I'm doing a show with Ranieri later. Peralt's going to be on the show. So we can't wear the Celtics gear. But I said I'd wear green, and every book on planet Earth is going to need the A's today. Every single one. So despite the fact that they've lost 8 in a row, they're favored, and let's go A's. That's the late night play.
Wait. Every book in the world is going to need the A's.
Who's not taking Rockies today? They're hot.
Who the hell's betting that game? Now, hold on a minute. Now,
what?
Now, who's betting? This game comes in where on the handle list of the night?
I was going.
I mean, come on.
I was going through the schedule today, and I said, "What game is going to have the least handle? This has to be it. This one, or I mean, let's be honest. It's Minnesota, Washington. You know, I come on and like to hype the Nationals, but it's probably that one is on the list. Bottom 3.
Yeah.
You know, I can't think of too many other ones though, Kevin. There's not too many other ones that get almost no handle today.
The A's are throwing an old school Houston Rockets point guard tonight. That's for my ball knowers out there, and we'll leave it at that. Let's. It's not bad. It's not bad. What do you want to talk here, Dave? I mean, do we do the basketball, or do you want to finish up with the baseball? Since you seem to be locked in on the baseball tonight.
Well, I mean, we could talk about the basketball. Did you find any bets that you really liked? Any PRAs or anything that
that's right.
Might be something. The point
it
spread
is funny.
Put a hold on everything, right? Like this is a pause. Like what do you do with 10 when you see it?
So ultimately, all right. Before we do series long stuff, we'll talk about the 10 because I haven't talked, I guess, a ton about it. But coming off of Game 7 is tough, and I think that matters. But you know how I get. The amount of people that have Celtics roll, Pacers win Game 2 makes me want to vomit. So what if the Pacers steal this game tonight?
Oh,
just to break up everyone's thought process.
Oh,
right?
Oh boy, now you're speaking the books language. That would be wow. What would the content world do? What would the book world do? What would the bettors do? They'll bet even more on the Celtics in Game 2. That line will be higher somehow. The zig, the zag, the zing, the boom. Oh yeah, no, this will upset everybody in the space if the Pacers can actually pull this off. Why can't they cover?
Okay.
Like that's one of those things. Like tonight, they can. They absolutely can cover the spread.
Yeah, I think this totals. I'm stepping away. Total looks good. Looks like juice. I'm good. I'll see you next game. I'll see you next game. We'll figure it out. I've got a few. I'm on Drew Holiday for 2 swipes. All right. And I've got Miles Turner and Jason Tatum to combine over 16 and a half rebounds. That's where I'm at.
Rebounding props. See, that's I love when you go deep with stuff that maybe not anybody really is looking at. You got to go different directions. When the number gives you pause, you don't have to play it. I'm surprised the total's this low. Seriously, when you look at the games they played against each other during the season, now maybe there were guys playing then that weren't playing now,
et cetera,
et cetera. But it's playoff basketball. It's a little light at 222, in my opinion. But again, we'll see. P-Rolt really thinks that the Celtics team total first half is light, and essentially it is. I mean, it's been in the low 60s, pretty consistent. It wasn't against the Knicks, and they all went over except one game. Against the
Cavs.
The Cavs. So that might be a play first half, but find different things. Find baseball. I mean, that's the other thing too. You don't have to just fire on this game because it's the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, I did fire on something though. Because we had to get in now before we don't want to miss the boat. I'm playing Halliburton, I'm playing Tatum triple doubles, and I'm going to play it every game this series. So, but see, Dave, notice how those don't look the same?
What? Well, that's a big difference.
I don't know why they do this.
Look at those numbers.
Yeah, but notice how one of them reads triple double, and then the other one's a parlay. See, because we had to start clicking buttons to make sure we got the best of the number. Because for some reason, a triple double pays less than a 10-10 parlay.
How about that? Think that's by design, Kevin?
So
that's doing your homework.
Actually,
sir.
today,
I like that.
Let me see if it's the same. There was a guy who's 10 rebounds number today, right? When you parlayed it with that same player to score 10 points, you get worse numbers. Now, explain this to me, okay? Explain this. It's still the case, so why not? Let's throw it out there. We like talking about this stuff. It's confusing. Miles Turner to get 10 rebounds, Dave, is plus 300.
Okay.
Miles Turner to score 10 points is minus 1050.
Okay.
Now, if I parlay those, do you have an idea of what I should be getting?
I can tell you.
You have a little calculator.
I'll pull up the calculator while we're talking.
So, do you want to take a guess as to what we are getting? Plus 300, minus 1050. Take a swing, Dave. Go ahead. Don't even, just take a swing.
I don't know. That's such a minus 10,000, so it's 100 to 1 or minus 1,000?
Minus 1050. 1050.
1050. Okay. All right, let me see. I gotta put that in here. -1. How did you even find this? Like, why would that even come up on your radar?
Because, I'll tell you why. Because I was looking at some double-double stuff. Your head's going to, I think, explode.
So it's plus
when you see
340?
this.
That's plus 340.
Okay. The parlay pays plus 273. Figure that out.
Well, I just did it on a parlay calculator. It's supposed to pay plus 340. 339.
Dave, listen, we know correlated parlays. Sometimes you don't get what you really want. I'm getting worse odds
than the
plus 300 isolate.
Yeah, you can't.
I've never seen it in my life.
That's not right. That's we might have to have a gaming commission meeting about that one. It's a big gaming commission meeting
What's
today
going
in
on?
Massachusetts. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I heard
to me.
about that.
Yeah.
Any quick thoughts there?
Oh yeah, we broke it down today on BVB. I actually got up. It was at 8:00 in the morning Pacific, 11 a.m. meeting, a gaming commission roundtable in Massachusetts on why people get limited in sports books, and all of the sports books representatives decided not to show up. So it was a very awkward, weird way to have an hour and 20-minute discussion without an operator present. So I think that spoke volumes. It was very strange. We have a long way to go before we get some sort of like level playing field. It's a weird time right now.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting spot. But again, some things you can understand. I'm struggling with add a leg, lose value.
Less.
That one I'm not. You want to go plus 300 to plus 305? It's not great. It's not that. Be right back. It's Game Time Decisions.
The Bostonian versus the book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Dinger Tuesday is off in the Bronx. Who just sent one out here on Seattle? The 9-hitter? Dylan Moore. More like Dylan Less. Golly, what is that?
Oh.
That's not what we're... All right. Well, here's the thing. I did play Dinger Tuesday in the Bronx because you figured Seattle would contribute. You know? If Clark Schmidt's going to give him up, it's probably going to be at home. All right. So that's where we are. We'll see. Soto's up next inning, I think.
Did you do the Devers again? Did you do the Devers in Tampa?
No. No.
Laid off the Devers?
He did get his hits, run, RBIs, though, I was told.
Okay.
Which the people were excited about. How about that game? Hey, Dave. How about yesterday? Sonny Gray, 5 no-hit innings, didn't get me 6 innings pitched. That's a good one. That's one you remember. That's one you remember.
Leaves a mark. Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard to imagine.
How does that? Yeah. I mean, you're sitting pretty good in the 5th. That's pretty good, and then you don't win it. Tough look. That's a tough look right there. Yeah.
Very tough look. Very, very, very tough look. Let me throw something at you just because I know you'll appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Halliburton over 8.2 assists per game in this series.
Okay.
In his Dave, in his regular season with meetings with Boston, he had a number of games where he was limited minutes-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So things get a little clunky, right? Like, he only averaged X against Boston this year. Well, he played 110 minutes and he had 36 assists. Dave, tell me how many minutes you would say is good for Halliburton on an average this series.
That he plays? If he don't play 40,
yeah.
I mean, we got to play
minutes
at least
per game.
40, right? 42.
So how about this? Let's go 38 then, Dave. That's the high end that I was prepared for. Hit that assist per minute ratio, if he plays 38 a night, 12.4.
I was going to say, is that 11? Okay, there you go. Wow.
Dave,
okay.
When he had 30 minutes, which he's going to play significantly more than 30 minutes a game, the assist to minute ratio is 9.8 with what we saw him do against Boston this year. So even if you say, oh, hey, the playoffs are going to change things, and realistically, he probably averages 34 minutes a game. I still think I'm being generous, which was 11.1 assists. That's your average. And I'm getting 8.2. So I feel good about that.
Yeah. Do you like his 3-prop? We were on that today. We had a big discussion about that today. 3.5 was the number. And that seems like an easy under. And I said, I don't know about that. Doesn't he get some volume tonight? Doesn't he shoot?
So at the back end of the Milwaukee series, right? He remembered, volume, right? So it actually kind of happened once he went home. 12, 12, 10, 10 against Milwaukee. So I remember betting on him in the first game of the series to lead that game and made threes. And he only took 5. He took 4 in the first half, though. I was like, that's weird. And then he went 11, 16, 10. And it's like, he's got it figured out. And then they went back to the Garden. He only took 4. What I would say is, for Halliburton, from what I've seen, playing under makes sense. But if anybody wants over, and I know this is how people get burned sometimes, but I'd go a little bit extra, right? Maybe lead the game in threes, something like that.
Okay.
And when he shoots 12, you hope for your 5, your 6 makes, and you can kind of handle it that way. But I'd say, so I have a very clunky card tonight, is how I would describe it. It's not a normal night, right?
No.
I have triple doubles, I have steals, I have combined rebounds. I'm a little thrown off with what we're going to get tonight. I don't feel as... I want to see what we got here, right? Don't be surprised if I tweet out a little halftime situation.
I love
let's take 24 minutes in.
Tweets from K-Dub. I absolutely love them. When I see them, I try to react and interact and all that other stuff. I love when you come with the stuff in the game or right after the game. That's usually the real good stuff. Yeah. Well, this is like the beginning of the summer, though, K-Dub. This is it. We get one basketball game or one hockey game, or if we're lucky, we get 2 of those sports.
Yeah.
in conference finals the rest of the way with a full slate of baseball. Now, don't sleep on the WNBA. I know you did some work there. You had to come up with something.
Cameron Brink over 9.5 points. We're in the mix. We're in the mix. We're in the mix. Here's the deal, Dave, right? Here's the deal. So the important thing for me tonight is this will be her easiest defensive assignment. Forget the offense. She should finally avoid foul trouble. We should get a career-high minutes. And that's really all we're looking for. She scored 11 in the first game in only 20 minutes of work against Atlanta as is. She was guarding Tina Charles. Right? Game 2, she's guarding Aja Wilson. All right, that's a handful. And she's being defended by Aja, too, in a lot of that game. So over 9.5 points. You want a little, because, Dave, I know you like a little bomb shot. I took her to get 15. Aja, over in that game against Phoenix, for 30. That's something like 25 or so to 1.
Ooh.
Little dart throw. Little dart throw, Dave. Little dart throw.
That cleans up a lot of stuff over the week. You hit one of those early in the week.
Does.
You know what I'm saying?
Makes you forget about Sonny Gray pretty easily.
Right.
You started to say he pitched well.
What's the play of the day?
Oh, Soto, 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. So we'll see what happens when he comes back. But he did strike out in the first inning. So if the first inning rule applies, it's not great. Yesterday, over 7 in Sox Rays. We get 5 from the dog. We couldn't push.
Don't get there.
We couldn't push.
Unbelievable.
That was tough. I didn't love that. Dave. Yesterday wasn't great. That's okay. We bounced back. I'm in a bounce back spot. I'm in a bounce back spot.
I like that.
Could be a big day. It could be a big day. Look, before we let Dave get out of here, I want to get some quick thoughts on Minnesota-Dallas, and then we'll run through the card one last time for the people, as the BVB crew will be live and in the mix tonight for In-Game Live. So make sure you keep it here at SportsGrid. It's Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh, Dave Sharapan. We'll be right back.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Up next, it's going to be in-game live. Dave Sharapan, Matt Peralt, live and in person, maybe. I think they're here in Jersey. Is that what I'm hearing? No.
No,
Peralt
not yet.
will be in the. Go ahead, clean it up for me, Dave. Clean it up for me.
Not yet. It'll be me in Vegas, Ranieri in Florida, Peralt on as a guest for Bloviate.
Ranieri?
Yeah. Me and Ranieri are doing the show.
All right.
Peralt's on as a guest. We couldn't get Larry Bird. We efforted to get Larry Bird. We said we got to get somebody to bloviate about Boston sports and the Celtics. Who better than Matt? So we're going to do that. And we got Kurtz and we got Cam Stewart to break down some hockey. You
guys are
Hockey's
loaded.
Got a night off. Are you ready?
You guys blew the budget tonight.
I know, right? How about the onslaught of hockey that's coming in Madison Square Garden?
Hey.
Oh, baby. Is that city ready?
Hey. So I didn't win last night in the hockey, and I couldn't be happier about it, and I'll tell you why, and you'll understand this. Because I was going to bet Oilers puck line. I took McDavid to score a goal. Guess what? McDavid to score a goal, no pain. It just didn't win. Oilers puck line, I'd have been sick to my stomach.
That would have been a
sick
bad
to my
loss.
stomach.
That would have been a bad loss. We had a lot of shots at the empty net, didn't get it. 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
Supposed to win it. Yeah, that was boy, that would have completed the night that you had last night with the Sonny Gray and this other stuff. So that's good.
Yeah, it should have been on the card.
Right?
It should have been on the card. The Aaliyah Boston missed layup. Yeah, it was a night. Quick thoughts. What are you thinking with the Dallas and the Minnesota series in the West?
If I will be super surprised if it doesn't go 6 or 7 games. I think we get an absolute battle both ways.
Yeah.
Dallas plus the 2.5 that can't lose. I don't even know what the price is, but I think I like Minnesota right now. But this afternoon I was out and about shopping the different prices and the different exactas and the different things that I think we get a split in the first 2 games. And I don't know the order yet, but I think we get a split in Minnesota. What?
All right, listen. First, on 2 things. If you're late, you tell them it's on me. Good thing Peralt will be there in studio. Over 5.5 games is minus 160 for that series. Is that good?
Okay.
Is that good?
Yes.
At that price?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Here's the other thing. I'm glad I remembered because I didn't place it yet, but I have like 2 minutes if I do want to place it probably. Over under 33.5 road wins in these playoffs. Now, that's annoying because you have to then do the math. Luckily, I already did it. Over under 6.5 road wins the rest of the way. Both conference finals, NBA finals.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
So, what is that close? I mean, that's close. We're going to play that out.
Close.
We get 2, maybe 3 in the West. 1 or 2 in the
East.
East.
Boston series has had 3.
Okay. So then we'll only need 1 in the finals, which either team, Dallas against Boston or Minnesota against Boston, one of them is going to win a road game. I think we get there.
Celtics are going to be favored in every road game no matter what.
Are they?
Yes. Yes.
Minnesota?
They should be.
They should be.
I'd be surprised.
I'd
be But 6.5. You're interested. You're thinking over. I was thinking over.
That's a good number.
Here's the burn.
It could be 6.
Here's the other problem, though, because I told you how to do the math. I initially thought it was 7.5, and I was thinking over. And then when I found out I counted wrong, and it was 6.5, you kind of got to like it a lot. You kind of got to like it or not. So it changes things. It changes things. All right, Dave. Let me see if that's going to close out on me. All right, big show tonight. Dave Sharapan, Matt Peralt with Joe Ranieri stopping by.
Always.
I hope I have that. Enjoy the show tonight, Dave. Great stuff with Ranieri and Consig leading the charge. It should be a good one. Now, hold on a minute before we get out of here. Just bear with me, people. Playoff specials, 33.5, minus 120. When's it close? 8:10. If there's no tweet, it means I did nothing. If there is a tweet, we got involved. Come on. What is it? Can we get a better number if Boston wins tonight, but Pacers are live. Pacers are live. Some are saying. Quick run through the card. Cameron Brink over the 9.5 points. Tatum triple-double. Halliburton triple-double. Tatum and Turner 16.5 points. Drew Holiday 2+ steals. Let's get some dingers. It's a Tuesday.